Good, family? This is Drew, and this is a video on my Trendline strategy, right? This is a strategy that I love to use. I use this literally every day, right? And I love it because it provides high percent returns, and you can catch major moves and reversals, right? So this is my Trendline strategy that I use every day, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So why I like this strategy is because I always say the trend is your friend, right? If the stock is trending, then we winning, right? So what is a trend? A trend is when prices are in an uptrend or in downtrend, meaning the stock is making higher highs and higher lows, or lower lows and lower highs, right? So that's how you identify an uptrend. So to give a visual, right, whenever I'm looking at a chart, I want to identify if it's in an uptrend, downtrend, or in the range. So, right, this is Tesla on the daily chart, right? So off rip, I can see that we are making higher lows and higher highs, right? So low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, right? So what's next? Potentially a higher high here. So once we establish that we're in an uptrend, we can draw a trend line starting at the low, at the first low, and then bringing it up to the lower lows and see if they connect. So boom, here, these lows do connect, 1, 2, 3, right? And then we did get a mini bounce right here, but there's still a little bit of room down. So boom, once we determine that we're in an uptrend, then we know how to play the stock, right? So we really, all we got to do is just stay patient here and wait for prices to come to this trend line, or go up and make another higher high, and then see, right? So this is how I first established whether we're in an uptrend, downtrend, or ranging. Right now, within this uptrend, we have many other mini trends. Let me show you some here, right? Remember, we're looking for higher highs, higher lows, and lower lows and lower highs, right? So we see here, we got a low here, and we got constant higher highs here and higher lows, right? So we'll take a trend line, and then we'll draw a trend all the way across. Boom, right? So we have a nice trend here, right? Nice trend here. The way that I play these, right, let's zoom in on this right here, is for the high percentage returns, right? If we're going to play a trend break, right, meaning the trend is not valid no more. So we break the trend here. We're looking for a bearish candle to close under the trend line with rising bearish volume, right? So we see the trend. We're trending very nice here. We're riding trend. Boom, we got a break here on this day. We got a bearish candle close with the corresponding rising value, very slightly, but it's rising bearish volume, right? So here, I would enter, right? And this is the daily, so if we're on the daily, then we're most likely swinging, right? So we would enter here, and then the targets I would have is I would just look for this to take out the lower lows, my apologies, the higher lows within the trend, right? So to give you a visual, this is what it looks like. You see the trend, this was a higher low right here. Boom, right? We'll just draw these higher lows. Boom, higher lows or any gaps, right? So we see we got a nice gap right here, right? As we know, gaps always get filled. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Boom, so we got a gap here, right? So what we'll do is, once we see this, I'll get my short position tool because we're looking at downside. We'll enter at the close of this candle, right? We'll have our stop at right above the recent highs, right? And then our target will be any of the higher lows that we plotted out, any gaps, right? In this scenario, we could have played this gap right here, right? So boom, we could have played this gap, right? This gives us the 3.45 risk to reward, right? To give you a visual, we're only risking this red area right here, right? We're risking this little to make this much potentially, right? So this is a very solid trade, and we probably will have a very high percentage return on this trade. So we see we got in here, and then the very next day after we broke trend, look, we gapped down, right? So we would have been up nice in profits here. We closed at 202, and then we opened here at 186. That's like a $16 move overnight, right? So honestly, you could have took profits here, or if you want to hold it, you would have got a big move here. But that's a $16 move overnight is nasty in options, right? And you see it came down to our second target, right there. That second higher low right here, right? Very textbook. For this strategy, volume is key. Volume is key. I can't stress enough, right? So you see how we broke trend here? We want to see this trend break with rising volume, right? So let me delete these and then show some other examples. And then I'll show you guys how to play it when there's low volume, right? So remember, let's try and find a downtrend right here. Okay, cool. So boom. So right this area right here, right? Let's remove this one. This area right here, right? We see nice downtrend right here, right? High, lower low, lower low, and then look at all these lower highs, right? So we'll take the top of this, the start of this move, we'll bring a trend line, boom, across the tops, boom. Now we have this trend, right? So this is what a downtrend line would look like, right? So to play upside, we would simply just wait for a bullish candle to break above and close. It has to close above this trend line with rising value. So we can see here, we broke here, right? Looks good here, but we have low volume, right? See the corresponding volume bar is lower than the previous volume bar, right? So this is low volume, right? So we don't want to take this yet. What we want to do is we want to wait for a retest of this trend line, right? Which it coincidentally happened the next day, right? So you see we broke here, next day we came down, look, we tested this trend line to the T, right? So this would have been our entry. Once we came and we held this, and we see we closed like this, boom, we would have entered to the upside here. And then we would have been targeting these next lower highs as our targets, right? So boom. Those next lower highs or any gaps that we see, right? Another target there. Another target here, right? And we can see, right? So we would have got in. We wouldn't have got it on the breakout because it broke out with low volume. We would have waited for the retest, which we got here to the T. We would have entered in calls. And let's bring our tool out, right? So we would have entered upside here. We would have had our stop at the low, right? Just below the low. And then we would have been targeting these lower highs and potentially the beginning of the move, right? Which this gives us a 1.81 risk to reward. So this is a very good trade. We would have got in here. And then we can see our first target got hit the very next day, right? It held as resistance for 3 days, and then we got a nice gap up. And then our third target got hit right to the T. So we could have took profits here, right? So we would have got in here at 180.45. This candle closed at. This was our entry. And then, 3-4 days later, we were at 198, right? So that is a pretty good move right there as well. That's what is that, like a $16 move within a week, right? So you can't beat a return like that. You can't beat a return like that. So let's remove these. Boom. Now, if we're looking at the bigger picture, right, we see that we're in an uptrend, a very strong uptrend. Now we know that we can wait around this area here, right? And then another thing you can do is, right, you see these highs right here. Boom, we could draw a zone out right here, right? Boom. And the reason I could draw this zone is because you see we rejected the zone multiple times here, and then, played around here, but then we got a nice strong move from this zone, right? And then if we take this zone and extend it to the left, we can see it probably was a decent zone from before. Boom, yep. So look at that, right? Choppy around here, right? Some bounces off here. So this zone is a key level. Not only do we have this zone here, we have this trend line right here too, right? So we could have entered, in calls right here, and then, this very next day, look, we closed this day at 215.49, and today, we closed at 232.13, a $17 moves overnight, right? So this is why I love this strategy, because it gives higher percentage returns and decent moves, right? So we can see, so this is current on Tesla. This is right now on Tesla, right? So we can see we have another downtrend right here, right? We have another downtrend off of our trend line and off of this resistance zone, right? Which is now support zone. So let's go to the high. Boom, we'll draw a trend line from our high, connecting those lower highs, and then it gives us, boom, where we are right now, right? So now we know Tesla, we can probably play Tesla to the upside, right? Because not only is it testing the trend break here, right? We also are off of this daily. We're also off of this daily support trend line and this horizontal support zone right here, right? So you can see we got rising volume too, right? But we don't want to get in this trade yet. We will wait until this trend line is broken and the bullish candle closes above with rising volume, right? So tomorrow we'll see how that closes. That'll be very nice. And then our targets will be, you see we have a gap way up here at 280. We have a gap way up here at 280. Boom, right? So 280 would be our first target. The next target I will have is a close one, right? Is right here. Boom. This 240, right? Because this 240 was a pivot here, right? You see it was a pivot here. It held support here, and then it was also resistance, right? So over 240, right? So that'll be a first target right there. This will be another target right here, 251.56 area. And this is very simple. All I'm doing is taking out these lower highs here, right? Boom, another target right here, 264.6. And then you can have this as a target here. And then we have the gap, right? So to give you a visual, let's see how this looks on our long position, right? So our entry will be, if we break above this trend line, our stop loss will be right below the lows. But being that we have this zone here and then this trend line, we can put our stop loss right under this trend line, right? This gives us a higher probability chance, right? We are risking more, but we have a good potential to the upside, right? You see we got this gap way up here to fill, right? Gives us a 1.62 risk to reward. So we're risking this much to make this much, potentially, right? Also, remember, we're in an uptrend, right? Every time Tesla has bounced off of this trend line, it's went to make higher highs, right? Bounce, higher highs, bounce. So this could very well blow past all this and go and make higher highs, right? So who knows how far up this can go? You know, the only way we can see is boom. Okay, well, look at this, right? We got this trend line. We got this range over here, right? Clear resistance, boom, 312, right? So this is probably where we're ultimately going to come. And let's adjust our tool, boom. So this gives us a 2.4 risk to reward. Very, very nice, right? You can see why I have this as resistance ultimately up here. It's because this was a range, right? You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got many rejects here showing that this is, you know, sellers are here. There's a wall of sellers here, right? So this is a very key resistance. And then we have a gap up here to get filled, right? So remember, being that this is the daily, you would have to swing this out a while. You know, this would be, you know, maybe a 2-month swing, right? With a stop below, let's say, what is this? 206 area, a stop below 206. And then we're likely to go up to 312 in time, right? So we got to be very patient with this, but this is a very high probability setup, and I love to play this. And this works on any time frame, right? So let's go down to a lower time frame, right? So if you like scalping and stuff like that, like myself, we can see how that looks on the lower time frame. So let's go to the 15-minute, right? Remember, we're just looking for trends, right? So right here, what do we see? We see that we're in a clear downtrend, right? We had a high here, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. We're matching lower lows, right? So we go make a trend line from the first high, and we'll bring it all the way down, connecting these dots, connecting these lower highs, and boom, what do we have, right? Trend. So today, actually, you could have played this. Look, we broke trend here. See, we broke trend, closed above with rising volume. Look at the value. Yeah, you would have got caught in a little pullback here, but that's why we have stops, right? Remember, if we playing this, our stop, we gotta give room for stops, right? We get in here, you know, we can put our stop, you know, let's say maybe right here at 217, right? And then being that this is a long-term trend, right? The bigger the trend, the bigger the move once it breaks, right? So being that it broke this trend, we can very well see this, you know, go up here, way up here, right? And then I'll show you, we got very solid resistances up here too. So look right here, right? Right here, we got key resistance right here, 252, right? You can see 1, 2, bunch of solid rejects there. We have another level right here, very key. Look at this resistance right here, 240, right? So we know that once we broke this, we can put our stop, you know, it'll be a looser stop, which is more risk, but I'm fine with that because this has the potential, right? Being that it broke trend, this has the potential to run, right? And then we see here, we got a 1.6 risk to reward here. And that's if we don't go to make new highs. Because remember, on the daily, every time Tesla has bounced off of this trend line, it has made higher highs. So You just want to make sure with this that you pick, a good contract that's not too far away in strike price, and you want to make sure that you give your contracts time, right? So I would want to give this trade at least 2 months, at least 2 months. And then the way you can pick your contract, right, is like, we can do this, right? We can go to the daily, right? Let's see, the last time that we bounced off of this trend line, how long did it take to make higher highs, right? So we'll count the daily candles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 24, right? It took 24 days to make higher highs, right? 24 days is almost 1 month, right? So being that last time it took 24 days, and then the time before that, let's see how many days it took. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at that. 25 days to make higher highs. Almost the same. 24 and 25 days. So we can assume that now that we've bounced here, we may see new higher highs within 24, 25 days. But to be safe, let's just put this out 6 weeks, right? Let's put this out a month and a half. It gives us time, right? So today is August 21st. Let's put this out for first week of October, right? And we can take, some, let's say 240 strikes or 250 strikes, and we can sit on this, right? We'll have a stop loss under 207, and we'll sit on that and wait. So that's a good way. You can count how many candlesticks it took since the last bounce of the trend line, and then you can kind of just look forward and predict how long it may take to go ahead and make higher highs, right? So that's Trendline strategy that I use. I use this every day. I use it scalping. I use it swinging, right? And we do live trading every day in our Discord, right? The link is going to be in the description below. And yeah, if you got more questions or anything, please drop them in the comments or join our community. We do have a free tier in the up top community where you can come in and ask questions, and I post daily watches in there every day. So thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all got something from this video, and let's get it, man.